I'm sold already. Usually I just hate coming of age stories. Don't like the main character. I didn't like the narrator. I didn't like their tone. I have no complaints. So far, it is 5 stars perfect. Hello, my name is Katie, and welcome back to another reading challenge vlog situation. I've lived in 3 different states in my life. I was born in Minnesota. I lived in Louisiana and New Orleans for the past 4 years, and now I live in North Carolina. So I wanted to read books set in all the places I lived. One, to kind of get to know North Carolina a little bit more. I just moved here 6 months ago, and then also to spend some time in the places that I love and have lived in. So I always think it's really interesting to read a book that is set in a place that you know, because it adds a whole nother element to it. So I have selected a little grouping of books. I'm gonna tell you about them. To start, I now live in North Carolina, and I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book. I actually started listening to the audiobook of this while I was driving here from Minnesota when I moved, and so far I absolutely love it. I'll read you the synopsis. For years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when the handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Okay, next is New Orleans. This book was recommended to me by one of the professors I had while I was at university, and it is set in New Orleans leading up to Mardi Gras, and I don't know that much about this book. I've read maybe 25 pages of it, so I'll read you the synopsis. Binks Balling, a young New Orleans stockbroker, fills his days with movies and casual sex. His life offers him nothing worth retaining. What he treasures are scenes from films like The Third Man and Stagecoach, not the personal emotional experiences he knows other people hold dear. When he's on the cusp of turning 30, however, something changes for Binks. On Mardi Gras, he embarks on a quest for some form of authentic experience. The consequences of Binks's hunt on both himself and his unstable cousin Kate prove outrageous, tragic, and indelible. That's this one. I'm very excited to go back to the city of New Orleans and experience it through this book. And last but not least, we have my home state of Minnesota. Now, originally, back when I planned this video, I had picked up Future Home of the Living God, which is a dystopian novel set in Minneapolis. Since then, the Women's Prize for Fiction has come out, and this author, her new book is on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list, and it is also set in Minnesota, in a haunted bookstore. So of course I had to get it. And my dog, he's never chewed anything in his 6 months of life, except for this book, which I bought brand new. I never buy books new, I always buy them used. But this is a new release, so I bought it new and he chewed it. So I'm very sad about that. Let me read, I've also read the first chapter of this. Let me read the synopsis. The sentence asks what we owe to the living, to the dead, to the reader, and to the book. I'm sold already. A small independent bookstore in Minneapolis is haunted from November 2019 to November 2020 by the store's most annoying customer. Flora dies on All Souls Day, but she simply won't leave the store. Tuki, who has landed a job selling books after years of incarceration that she survived by reading with murderous attention, must solve the mystery of this haunting while at the same time trying to understand all that occurs in Minneapolis during a year of grief, astonishment, isolation, and furious reckoning. So this is set in Minneapolis in 2020. I'm very, very interested to see if this is covering the pandemic, if this is covering George Floyd, if this is covering the Black Lives Matter movement. It's been quite a year for Minneapolis, and it's not been great. And so I am so excited to be reading from an Indigenous author who owns an independent bookstore, Birch Bark Books, in Minneapolis. I have such high hopes for this. The first chapter was already incredible. And I'm kind of glad that I'm reading this instead of Future Home of the Living God, because this is a dystopian and I kind of want to be in the state in present day. This is as close as we're gonna get. So those are the 3 books that I'm reading. I think I'm gonna start with Where the Crawdads Sing. See you later. Bye. I have not been able to stop reading this. I knew that I liked it from when I read the audiobook, but I'm really loving the print version. There are certain words and phrases that are bolded that I didn't get that when I was reading the audiobook. So I would recommend the print version. The audiobook's great too. I would protect Kaya with my life. She's incredible. Usually I just hate coming of age stories, but this one's done really well. She's given a lot of agency. She's very intelligent. She feels real. And I was that kid out in the woods with the nature. I really like it. Even if you don't like coming of age stories, don't let that put you off. This is exceptional. If you watched Animal Planet as a kid, you're gonna like it. It's Animal Planet with an unexplained death. What's not to love? It's really, really good. Oh, the lights just turned on. I refuse to do anything else until I have finished reading this. I have to clean my house, but no, we're reading this. Okay, I'm excited. I'm gonna finish reading. I'll see you when I'm done. Bye. I finished it. It made me cry in a good way. I'm really bummed that it took me so long to finish this. I started this book when I moved here 6 months ago, and it's taken me until now to finish reading it. And I'm really happy that I did. I understand why everyone loves this. I get it now. It's so good. I'm trying to think of other things that it reminds me of so I can recommend it to people. But if you were a kid who played in dirt, read this. If you want to read a story of a woman who's alone most of her life and dealing with loneliness, read it. If you want to hear a story about how people can be so giving and loving and how people can also be so prejudiced and hating, read this. I really like it. I haven't read anything else by Delia Owens, but I'm going to look her up and I'm going to read anything else that she's written, I think. Because this story, the plot did not appeal to me. I'm not a big mystery thriller person. The pitch of a coming-of-age story didn't appeal to me. The pitch of there's this girl who lives in the marsh and now someone's dead, that didn't appeal to me. I picked it up because I was moving to North Carolina and I knew it was set in North Carolina and there's a lot of hype about it. And I finished it only because of this video. I don't know how long it would have taken me to finish this if I hadn't made this video. So, I mean, this is exactly why I started my channel, was so that I would read things that I wouldn't normally pick up. And here you go, a 5-star. I've done 2 of these videos now, and in both of them, I have found a 5-star read that I don't know if I would have picked up or would have taken me a long time to pick up if I didn't have this channel. I'm really happy that I did this. This book was great. I hope I've convinced some of you to read it. Please let me know in the comments if you've read it. Let me know if you're going to read it. Let me know if you have any recommendations of other stories like this. I'm not super interested in coming-of-age stories, but characters who are as multifaceted and whole as Kaya is in this, I would absolutely love to read more things like that. Wow, I did not think I was gonna finish this in one day. Okay, I'm gonna call my mom and tell her how it ends because we started reading the audiobook together and she wanted me to let her know how it ends when I finished it. So, gotta call my mom and let her know. I'm so happy right now. Bye. Good morning. Good morning. Belly rubs. Good morning, belly rubs. I love you. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Sully, what's your game plan here? What's your game plan? Good morning. We are having a very nice morning. And the plan today is to clean my house because I have people coming over for the Formula One race tomorrow, and listen to the Moviegoer on audiobook. Full disclosure, I'm not enjoying it. I read about 20% of it on a walk and then didn't want to keep reading it. I don't like the way that the main character talks about women. I just don't like it. So I read an entire book in between for a different video. I have finished that book, which means it's time to read The Moviegoer, but I don't want to read it, so I'm procrastinating by talking to you about it. His personality to me feels like it's that kid you meet freshman year at a dorm party who gets drunk and starts asking you existential questions, but then everything that comes out of his mouth, he says it in a way that like he's sure that he's blowing your mind right now, and that everything he says is so important, and it's just like, he is the shit, and you're so lucky to be talking to him. And I hate those people. I hate them so much, and he feels like that person to me. I don't like it. Okay, I'm gonna go on a walk with the dog, and I'm gonna read it. And then I'm gonna clean my house, and I'm gonna force myself to listen to it, and then it'll be over, and then we can chat. Okay. Goodbye. I finished it, and I did not like it. Here's the situation. This is a coming-of-age story. This was also a coming-of-age story, but I actually liked the character that was coming of age in this story. This guy was having a midlife crisis, kind of. It felt simultaneously like he is, like I explained earlier, that freshman who thinks that they're God's gift to Earth. The guy from You, he just watches people in weird ways, especially women. He even talks about following someone. It's so weird. And he's racist. He kicks dogs. He's anti-Semitic. He's sexist. I don't like him. He was like trying to search for meaning in his life. We talk about suicide in here. Honestly, Kate is the only character that I kind of liked. I understand the pieces of this book that my professor likes. Like, I understand why he likes this book, and I think it's very much a specific to him thing. I did not like it. I did not like it. I don't like the main character. I didn't like the narrator. I didn't like their tone. I didn't like the way that they described women. I didn't like the way that they portrayed people who were Jewish. He said that he's more Jewish than Jewish people because he doesn't belong anywhere. He's searching for meaning in his life, and there's so many books that cover searching for meaning in your life so much better. I liked that it was set in New Orleans. I seriously considered DNFing this and finding a different book set in New Orleans, but I was already halfway through. Sully, you're not a cat. I didn't like it. 2 stars. I would give it a 1 star. It's getting an extra star because I understand why my professor recommended it. I get the things that he's talking about with searching for meaning and the different ways that you can have meaning in life, and the things that Kate says about suicide I found to be interesting to read. I'm glad that I read those pieces, but I'm really wishing that I only had read 2 paragraphs probably out of this book. So 2 stars for 2 paragraphs that I found interesting. This is really harsh. I've never given a book this low of a rating on my channel before. So it was bound to happen at some point. Usually if I don't like a book, I just stop reading it. I'm probably never gonna think about this book again. These 2 coming of age stories side by side, this one is just so much better. Just objectively so much better than this. The next book we have, going to read the sentence. Sully's just put his paw on me, so unfortunately I can't get it for you because I will not move his paw. Also just watched qualifying for Formula One race tomorrow. A lot happened. It was very intense. So I'm excited for this season of Formula One. I'm gonna read the sentence. I'm very excited to go from this horrible thing. Honestly reminds me of my least favorite people that I met in New Orleans. We're gonna go back home to Minnesota. We're gonna go to a haunted bookstore in Minneapolis. I'm gonna take my fluffy little bear on a walk, and then I'll probably start the sentence. Okay. We will see you later. This is a new angle. We're reading in my bedroom, so I would bring you in here. I'm sure you can hear Sullivan. He is chewing on a very delectable treat, so he's having a very nice night. I just made some chocolate chip cookies, which you just saw, and I am now reading the sentence. So I am about a little under halfway through, but I just wanted to say that this is incredible. I'm loving it so much. I'm really loving that we're hearing the names of lakes, we're hearing the names of cities, we're hearing the names of places that I know and love in Minnesota and in Minneapolis. We're talking about wild rice, we're talking about different indigenous tribes, and we're talking about books. I had to get out the sticky notes. We're talking a lot about the act of reading, which I'm finding to be an amazing experience. Alongside my bed, there's always a lazy stack and a hard stack. Like the whole idea of like a hard stack and an easy stack, that's why I read 10 books at a time, because it takes me a long time to get through my hard stack. And my easy stack, I just read. She also mentions Mark Danielewski, which is the author of House of Leaves, which is one of my favorite books of all time, which I read in the Boundary Waters of Minnesota. I'm really enjoying the conversations that we're having about the treatment of Indigenous people in Minnesota and characters that wish they were Indigenous. I'm also really loving the writing style here. Oh, I'll read you this. Once in a while, I encounter that oblivion in the form of an unreal me. This unreal me is paralyzed by one bottomless thought. I didn't choose this format. I didn't choose to be organized into a tukey. What or who made that happen? Why? What will happen if I do not accept this outrage? It isn't easy to stay organized in this shape. I can feel what it would be like to stop making that effort. Without constant work, the format called me would decay. I close my eyes and meet Budgie's puzzled gaze. There was no struggle on his face, just a question. What is this? What was this? They are the questions I ask the gauze curtains. The writing is exceptional. Oh, this is the part where she's talking about Mark Danielewski. There was a sort of athleticism to the act of reading his books that might take my mind off of what had just happened. I did leg lifts and crunches between bouts of reading Danielewski's inverted text sideways, forward, and back while exercising. It's just very, very obvious that Louise Erdrich loves books and loves reading. I am loving every single aspect of this book. I have no complaints. So far, it is 5 stars perfect. It's getting like good and weird, and I'm loving it. So I'm gonna keep reading this, and I will check in with you when I have something else to say or when I finish it. And until then, Sully and I are just gonna enjoy this beautiful night. Sully's looking outside. Hi. What you doing? I love you. So I think we're just gonna hang out, and Sully's gonna get some belly rubs, and we are going to read. This isn't books, but he won't get out of the bathtub. This started 2 days ago, and now he loves the bathtub. Why are you in the bathtub? I don't know what he does in here. He likes to lay in it. He likes to scratch it. I just needed to share that with you. Love you. Please get out of the bathtub. Hello. It's been a few days since I've spoken to you, but I have just finished the sentence, and let me tell you, not only is this a 5-star and my favorite book that I have read of this video, but it is also one of my new top 5 favorite books of all time, which is incredible. I was not expecting that. This does cover the pandemic. This does cover George Floyd's murder and the Black Lives Matter movement that was reinvigorated after that awful tragedy. It kind of like brought me right back to that time. I've never read a book that talked about events where either I was a few years ago or people who were very close to me, who I interacted with daily, were, and talking about those events and experiences. I've never read a book that talked about that so soon after it happened. And it just like really hit me hard. I think that everybody should read this book. I haven't read any of the other books that were longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I'm planning on reading a few more of them. And if I can get my hands on the shortlist for not too much money, then I'm gonna try to read that. But I really hope this is on the shortlist. I mean, I could see this winning. It's incredible. It took me right back to Minnesota. It does not shy away from the horrors that happened in Minnesota in 2020. We're talking about the Minnesotan flag and how that is extremely problematic and harmful to the indigenous populations. And we're constantly talking about books. And I have read and loved a lot of the books that we're talking about in here. And at the end, we get a list of our main characters' favorite books, and I'm so excited to read some of them. I read you a couple of passages from this earlier, but I want to read you a couple of more. We have a list of short, perfect novels. This is talking about Minneapolis. We may be a striver city of blue progressives and a sea of red, but we are also a city of historically sequestered neighborhoods and old hatreds that die hard or leave a residue that is invisible to the well and wealthy, but chokingly present to the ill and exploited. Yeah, that's Minneapolis. Also, that's New Orleans. We're talking about police because Tuki's husband is an ex-cop and how he's grappling with police violence and trying to figure out his relationship and how he feels. And we're talking about the looting and the riots that happened in Minneapolis, and they're talking about their relationship to it, understanding why they're happening, and also understanding that there are places being burned down, there are livelihoods that are being destroyed, and there is also this intense support for the Black community, and understanding that this is something that isn't illogical. I could talk about this forever and say nothing intelligent, so I would recommend that you just read the book. Pollux, Tuki's husband, is talking about his relationship with being a cop and talking about his grandmother warning him to not let the uniform wear him and feeling like there's a crooked thing inside of him. Pollux was haunted by image after image, people kneeling, beaten, people singing, beaten, mothers, beaten, fathers, beaten, young, beaten, old, knocked down, or beaten. If you approached the police, beaten. If you ran away, kneeled, then beaten. Pollux had known good people, seen lives saved by his fellow patrol officers, so who was doing the beating? The uniforms or those inside them? How was it that protests against police violence showed how violent police really were? I can't say anything more eloquently than this can. It made me cry, it made me relive 2020, and it was a big year, and I really needed this book to process. I could talk about this forever, but I'm not going to be able to say anything more eloquently than Louise Erdrich is going to in the book, so just please read this book. If you read one thing this month, please let it be this book. I will recommend this forever. I'm really sad that my dog chewed it. That's the sentence. So, to recap, we read Where the Crawdads Sing, which I also just found out this week is being adapted into a movie. So I'm very excited to watch that. I think it's the same actress who was in Normal People as well. This was a 5-star read. This is North Carolina, where I live now. It wasn't so much the North Carolina that I know because this is more about the marsh, but I highly recommend this and very much enjoyed it. Definitely a 5-star read for me. My least favorite book this week was Moviegoer. I believe I gave this 2 stars, and I will never think about this again, probably. I did not like it. I enjoyed being in New Orleans, but again, it reminded me of my least favorite people in New Orleans, and I would like to read a different book set in New Orleans. So if you have recommendations for books set in New Orleans, please let me know. And then we have the sentence, which 5-star, new favorite book, exceptional. Please read this. I loved every part of it, and it was exactly what I needed. And it was amazing to be back in the place that I grew up in and also confront a lot of the awful things that have happened in Minnesota historically and very recently. This is everything that I read this week. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and let me know in the comments why so I can make more content like it. I post every Friday now. I know I told you in the last video I'm going to post every Sunday, but my schedule is changing, so I'm going to post every Friday now at 12 Eastern. If you'd like to stick around, please consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I absolutely love reading and talking about the things that I have read, and this channel has helped me to read more than I could have ever imagined I would this year. I'm constantly seeking out new perspectives and enjoying being a lifelong learner. So I will see you next Friday. Bye.